Hi, everybody. Welcome to our new episode. Today we are covering health, fitness, diet, and the metaphysical perspective. So I want to welcome Betty. Hi, Betty. How are you doing today?
Fine, thanks.
Excellent. So we all raise your hand if you could lose a pound or two. All right, I see you out there. But we all have that, right? Like we all have a little bit to do in that regard. And so we wanted to address it today from a metaphysical science perspective. And because it's just a practical thing that confronts almost everybody in one way or another. And so that's what we wanted to look at today. So I just wanted to let you know that we are sponsored by the Institute of Metaphysical Science. And if you enjoy and get value out of attending and paying attention to our live streams, if they're making value for you, I would love for you to go ahead and make a donation to the Institute of Metaphysical Science. We are a nonprofit, so that would be fabulous. So anyways, what I want to say is let's get started. Oh, the other thing, if you like this, give us a thumbs up or a heart. And if you have any comments, any questions, any input at all, just type them into the comment box and we will be able to address them here. It'll be a little bit of a delay, but we'll be able to get those addressed. So I also wanted to invite that interaction. So again, today we are all about health, diet, fitness, that whole world of health and well-being, diet, fitness, losing weight, that whole game. All right. So shall we dive in?
Let's dive in.
All right. So In Mind is the Athlete on page 194 by Betty Albee. We have where you say there is no innocent victim. Our current experience reports or manifests what we are consciously or unconsciously honoring as cause. So you need to have your head be a little bit higher up, Mom.
Okay.
There you go. Perfect. That's awesome. All right. So can you unpack that a little bit for us?
Well, yeah, I'd like to say one or two things. Number one, the common belief is, with regarding metaphysical science and Christian science and any religious science and so on, there is a belief that you have to deny something. Deny what you don't like, deny what seems not to be okay with you. And metaphysical science doesn't hold with that. What we do have is this distinction that the world of the seen, heard, and felt, the stuff you see all around you, the human picture, the conditioned living of human beings, all of that is a point of view of a reality that is present, being seen however you're seeing it. So there's a real distinction. There is actually it should be comforting, reassuring, whatever, to recognize that there is a divinity that shapes our ends, that there is divine being present, having you show up. Now you show up in a language that you can understand and play with. So for me, the language is Betty and all the stuff she gets into and out of and all that sort of thing. But there is nothing to deny. There's nothing wrong with having the Betty look. There's nothing wrong with all the stuff we see going on around us. When we get in trouble is when we think that the stuff we see is causative. When we think that anything seen, heard, and felt is the source of our well-being or of our problem being.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is, it's all a point of view of a reality that's present, that's absolutely perfect. Even though you may not see the level of perfection, that is the ground of being. That being is sourcing.
Right.
So then with that in mind, talking about nutrition, talking about vitamins, talking about exercise programs, talking about vitamins, talking about physical checkups, that sort of thing. The whole gamut of all of that stuff has a kind of a possibly a dual view. We can either see it as the language in which I'm seeing perfection, so that all of it is pointing to something that's already existent, and it's a point of view of that existence. And that existence is being you.
Mm-hmm.
And the standpoint of being is perfection, wholeness, completeness, satisfaction, well-being, fulfilled and satisfied and joyous and free.
Mm-hmm.
My point of view may have a lot of limitations in it. I may not feel like one way or the other, or I might like something better than something else. All of that human living stuff is what I have going on as I discover my divine being. So it's all language for me, and it's the language of self-discovering.
Mm-hmm.
So in my world, what comes up for me is what's next for me in discovering myself whole, perfect, free, joyous. And for you, it's whatever comes up for you. Nothing to be denied, but something to be explored from the standpoint of what is the source?
Mm-hmm.
What is causing this? And you discover that who you're being shapes your daily language living. So that's sort of a preface, because when we explore physical exercise and the food we eat and the weight we'd like to be and all of those things, we think there's something there we shouldn't do, something else we should do. And the fact of the matter is, when I'm in touch with who I am, I'm going to have a program in my daily living that supports that well-being. So fine, on we go.
Right.
I'm not going to think that that program is going to give me health or happiness or anything. It simply is the path I'm taking in my discovering that I'm whole and perfect and free.
Right. And whatever that path is, it's like for me, it's just something that it was like I need to pay attention.
That's right.
And
Attention.
and then get myself into something that's going to work for me. And so that's what I've done. And I think that's part of it. And then understanding that it's my own divinity that's shaping my ends or shaping my steps or what have you, that look the way they look in the human sense of it all.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
Because you're up to discovering yourself perfect.
Yeah.
So the language of perfection in the world you walk through shows up in a language you understand.
Right.
But it is your own being demanding recognition that has that going on.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So then we go on in Mind as the Athlete. It on page 169, you say acceptance of appearances when unexamined and unaware casts the individual in the role of victim. And basically, if I can do this to just unpack this a bit, the acceptance of appearances as causative is what casts the individual in the role of victim. Is that an accurate kind of statement?
Yeah, you're misstating source.
Okay. So when you say, so when it says when unexamined and unaware, it's just kind of like I live and move and breathe in this world that I'm looking at, and it all looks like it's all stuff that's impacting me in one way or another.
Yep.
When I'm unaware and I'm not examining. Yep. So when I'm clear about who I am, and it's the divinity shaping my ends, I can accept the appearance knowing that that has nothing to do with cause.
Yeah, and rather than the word accept, I would say allow.
Okay, all right.
Because what I'm really accepting is perfection, present. And this is
Okay.
the best way I can see it at the moment.
All right.
So I'm just going to allow it to be. And as I move on, the language is going to shape up, and it may alter and it may change. And I may find myself on a wholly different path down the trail.
Sure.
But whatever it is, I'm clear that the perfection that's present, the divine being itself being, calling itself Betty, is in charge
Right.
and running the show, and on
Okay.
we go.
Cool. All right. Very good. So then on page 176 of Mind is the Athlete, you say, living scientifically, each individual has the capacity to experience peace and wholeness ongoingly at expanding new levels.
Yep.
So no matter what the picture looks like, is my capacity to experience peace and wholeness, is that my ability to acknowledge source versus buy into the picture?
Well, if you're living scientifically, you are acknowledging source. Therefore, you have the experience of peace and wholeness, whatever path you're walking.
Right. But I was looking at expanding new levels.
Yeah. And the level changes. The things that challenged me when I was 10 don't challenge me today.
Right. So
but there's
always
challenging me.
So there's always going to be a new it's like always a discovering.
Yeah, it's an
of
expanding
who I am. So as I grapple with that and that acknowledgement, those things become the speed bumps to what the thing is that shows up.
Yep.
Challenging me to live scientifically.
Yep.
Okay.
So you challenge yourself.
And living scientifically, what we're talking about is acknowledging source, cause, being, the divinity that shapes all of whatever is in the seen, heard, and felt.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Okay. Now going on to science and health. Miss Mary Baker Eddy says the Christianly scientific real is the sensuous unreal. So I know that people who are Christian Scientists, they like spout this off like just right off their tongue. But can you break it down? I want to break this down in a fresh way to really take a look at what's getting said here. So the Christianly scientific
reality
with a capital R.
Yep.
Okay, is the sensuous. What do they mean by sensuous? This or
the human, the picture.
Okay, the human picture, unreal.
Yeah. I source the language that allows me to see myself.
Okay.
And the quality of my seeing is what shapes what my human living looks like.
Because the quality of my seeing is how what I perceive and my perception and my point of view on all the circumstantial stuff that is in the world I walk through.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the quality of your seeing is talking about what are you accrediting as source.
Right. And so that could look like, and
what you credit as source is giving you the picture you've got.
Right. So let's just apply this to being overweight.
Okay.
Let's just apply it to being overweight. So here I am, overweight. It got this way. I have all kinds of stories about how it got this way because I sit and work at the computer all day long, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that's just the story I tell myself. And now I'm overweight and out of shape. So now I'm out to lose weight and get in shape.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say the Christianly scientific reality, divinity, perfection functioning is what's so, is the sensuous unreal.
Yeah. Well, the Christianly scientific real, or reality, as we say,
Yeah,
is man is the reflection of the action of the God idea.
Okay.
So reality.
So here I am, a bunch of pounds overweight. I need to lose weight.
Hold it.
Okay.
Hold it just a minute.
All right.
So here I'm going to say, looking at reality,
Okay.
all is infinite mind, whole, perfect, intelligent, functioning perfectly,
Okay.
principled.
And as you're saying that, in my head, I'm thinking, yeah, but I'm fat.
Well, but you've got the picture of the language that you call Kim
Yes.
as being who you are instead of what you look like.
No, I know I look fat.
But that's not who you are.
Right.
You hold it as if it were, because it makes you unhappy.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not so happy that I'm fat.
So you need, okay, so so you would not be addressing it if you did not realize that that is a view that you do not have to support.
So it wouldn't even come up for me to address? I just go right along being fat?
If you wanted to be that way, or if it
No, but
wasn't.
even if I didn't want to be that way, because what you just said, I thought that opened something up, which was it wouldn't even come up for me to address, except for it's my own divinity, having it be something I'm paying attention to, like a wake-up call.
Yeah, you know, you're involved in a science based in perfection.
Mm-hmm.
Your human living mirrors that perfection to the degree that you see it as your being.
Yeah.
Okay, so perfection present fits the picture?
Yeah.
You said no.
Perfection present fits the picture.
Yeah.
You
said no because you said I'm fat.
Right.
Perfection present doesn't have that.
Well, perfection present has both ends of the spectrum.
No, it doesn't. It has no spectrum at all.
Oh, that's right. Because
it's paradox picture is the point of view you've got of your language world.
Right. Okay.
So divine being, my being, your being, all being itself, whole, perfect, complete.
Yeah.
Is something you have no idea about.
Uh-huh.
But it would not come to you as something to pay attention to.
Right.
Unless you were not filling the bill for who you are. If you're putting up roadblocks to the reality that is perfection, something's going to get your attention.
Yeah.
Because that's not going to be allowed to stand.
Yeah.
The divinity being you is going to say, no more of that.
Right. I get it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So it's exactly right. Whatever comes up that gets your attention, it's the divinity calling you forth to say, wait a minute.
Yep. Perfection.
And attention getter. And it's so easy to have it be like, dang it, and really buy into that picture. And then you got to then catch myself and go, okay. And so now I get it. It's like, that's just what's calling for. So I think, okay, on we go. Well, let's just walk right through.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that with everything, like I can see that there's no need for the upset, no need for, it's just like what there is to walk through.
Well, the thing, and the walking through is not like a sentence. It's not like suffer it to be so now,
Right.
although that is the way it looks a lot. But what it is a challenge to your perception, if I can put it that way, because you don't need for that to drag on for 6 months
Right.
or 2 years or the rest of your life or whatever.
Right.
You need to become consciously aware of who you are.
Right.
And to the degree that you do, not only will physical appearance shape up, but so will the quality of your skin,
Mm-hmm.
so will your vision, so will your perception of whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's a leavening of the entire belief that we live and move and have being in a language complex, because we don't. That's the language unique to each individual, and it appears in the way that he understands.
Right.
That's why what satisfies you is not my language. What satisfies me is not somebody else's language.
Right.
You have to be willing to be yourself and listen to yourself and be willing to walk on, not with a sentence that I have to, labor with this for 6 months. I could do it in 1 hour if I really knew this was true.
Right.
I've heard people discuss this, and there have been people that literally dropped weight in amazingly short time without getting wrinkled, without harming themselves, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, depending on their willingness and openness to having reality whole, perfect, and complete present now.
Right.
Instead of off in the future.
Right.
We live in a belief system that says that's not possible.
Right. And now
it's not possible.
And the trap will be for me now to not make myself wrong that I'm not dropping weight fast enough, because if I really saw the truth, then and I get into all of that, which is completely beside the point.
No, and it would have you stop thinking that dropping weight means something.
Right.
What I would be much more interested in is your fidelity to your perception of who you are.
Yeah.
Because that's going to make a difference in your business. It's going to make a difference in your social life. It's going to make a difference in all the avenues and facets of living, rather than just the way your clothes fit.
Right. Right.
So you want to be whole. You don't want to be a slave to one thing.
Right.
And so you want to stay focused on divine perfection. This is the reflection of God being, not Betty, but the being that's present.
Right.
Allow it to be. Great, on we go. And I will be doing everything every day that I should be doing if I keep that perspective as my point of view.
Yes.
Rather than
because I can do no other.
Well, no, because I choose to be myself rather than to be that picture.
Right. Which would then say I could do no other.
Okay.
Okay, so now in Science and Health, Mary Baker Eddy says, and it echoes what you've said, spiritual ideas are obedient to the mind that makes them.
Yep. You can't have a concept of nothing. So your concept is of whatever you got going on.
Right. Is that this whole thing about from your mouth to God's ear is about 6 inches?
I'd say it's 0.
0. But I like that whole thing about the 6. All right. So it's really 0. All right. Okay. And then in Science and Health, she also says, infinite spirit, being all, mortal language will at last yield to the scientific fact and disappear. And the real sense of being, perfect and forever intact, will appear.
Yep.
So unpack that one a little bit.
Well, all is infinite mind.
Yeah.
Infinite spirit, being all.
Yes.
The language is going to give itself up. And it gives itself up to the degree that you adhere to the fact of yourself and just allow it to be. If you try to make it disappear, it's going to give you a problem.
So if whatever I resist, have an opinion about, have a belief about, that's the stuff that doesn't allow it to yield.
That's what makes it persist. That's right.
Yes. So if I'm clear about the divinity present, and I'm clear about perfection functioning and all of that, the scientific fact, mortal language yields.
Well, all of your language.
Well, mortal language is kind of like a double. It's like
mortal means dead, and it's accurate, dead language. doesn't, nothing stays fixed.
Right.
Language is here and gone, here and gone, here and gone. So every second it shifts, and it only shifts as I allow it to. Because it's the language informing me in a way that I can understand what's going on.
I like that. It's the only way I can understand, and it's informing me what's going on. I like that. It reminds me of the movie with Jodie Foster when she was in the space thing, and all it did was fall down like this, but she went to this whole new place and then they showed up. It showed up like her father who had long passed. And she said, well, why do you look like well, because we didn't want to scare you. We wanted to be in a language you would understand.
Yep.
And I thought, oh, perfect.
Yep.
So, okay, very good. So infinite spirit being all, mortal language will at last yield to the scientific fact and disappear. Yep. And the real sense of being, perfect and forever intact, will appear.
Yeah. And it appears incrementally as you can and are willing to see it.
Right. Got it. Okay, cool. So then Margaret Laird in Christian Science Re-Explored says, man is virtuous psychologically, metaphysically, because of what he is and not as a result of observing commandments and precepts. So it's not about the rules and regs.
That's right. You know, I've been so good. I've helped, you know, I've donated to charity. I help the poor. I do this and I do this. And why is this happening to me? You know, why me, oh Lord? That stuff.
And what we could say is it's all the way it is because your own divinity has that be the language the only language you can see what you need to see for your own self-discovering.
Yeah. So the language is perfect because it's your feedback on where you're standing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm standing in Betty and thinking she's going to amount to something and go do great things and all that. I'm kidding myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it will show up that I'm kidding myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because I will fail.
Right.
You'll have success up to a point, and then it'll all be downhill from there.
Right.
But if you want to live yourself whole and free, healthy, wealthy, and wise, Mary Baker Eddy would say, if you want to be healthy, wealthy, and wise, you pay attention to what's real and allow the language to look however the heck it needs to look, because what that's going to do is be the feedback that says, yep, I'm on course now. Okay. So I got a course going on, and all is infinite mind, and on we go.
Yeah. Very good. I like that. If you're enjoying this conversation, and if you have any questions or anything, just type them into the comments. We have a few minutes left. And so if you have anything like that, now's the time. So go ahead and type your comments. We go on here in Christian Science Re-Explored. She says, whatever arises in consciousness is but the demand to witness the operation of principle in human affairs. It's all the same thing we've been talking about. Yep. It's an opportunity to witness the operation of principle in human affairs and to see the divinity present and acknowledge the source.
So when you see that, then my human activity contributes to my well-being. If you think source is in the human activity, you're going to be a victim of the ups and downs of human activity rather than the source of your being.
Right. Yeah, very good. Okay. And then we have kind of a longer quote, so I have an addition to this, but in Christian Science Re-Explored, Margaret Laird says, perfection is happening in imperfection.
Yeah. When I sit here thinking I'm Betty, what's present? Perfection, God being.
Yeah.
My point of view doesn't shift that.
Right. And the recipe, and then she goes on to say, the recipe for living joyously without being affected by a past seeming is the understanding that the being, the thinking, existing in and as the seeming is mind.
Yeah. The only thing going on is mind, is God being, is spirit, is soul, is principle. That's what's going on. And this is how I see it.
Right. Okay.
Now, I don't know how much I may have confused people, but it's a hard subject to try to lay it out in half.
Right. So Melinda has written a comment in, and she says, I suppose for each, how allowing feels and how we experience a shift is unique. Question mark.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. In fact, all of it is unique. There is no other going on. There's you being the world you walk through.
Right. Right. And in Science and Health, for a final quote here, what Mary Baker Eddy says, the body will reflect what governs it.
Exactly. That sums up everything we've been talking about.
Yeah. So anyways, if you've enjoyed the live stream, we would welcome any donations. It is a all charity, charitable, tax deductible, all that kind of stuff, nonprofit.
Charitable trust.
That's right. So you can go out to scientificmetaphysics.org/donate, and you can make a contribution. We would love it. And it all helps in terms of us being able to continue to do this. So at any rate, that's it for today. Hopefully it was a lively conversation. I know it made a huge difference over here in the conversation that we had, which is very exciting. And so I look forward to seeing you again, same time next Wednesday, 7:00 Central, 5:00 Pacific. And until then, just keep acknowledging source and walking on.
On we go.